Hello there, this is MKSC Master bringing you the second part of the tutorial for using Make, the Super Mario Kart editor. Now, the main thing we're going to be focusing on in this part of the tutorial is the track design option called Manual Tile Placement. This is easily the most important part of designing your tracks, because if you don't do this right, then everything else is going to fall together pretty badly. So, first thing we're going to do, once we've gotten to the manual tile placement, is press E a few times until we have 8x8 tiles instead of the 16x16. As you can see in here, we've got a grid, and each grid will depict 8x8 tiles right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill one of those 8x8 tiles up with the pavement tile, which you can choose over here. Now, once we've made a little box or something similar like this, you can kind of use a paint tool option by just holding down the left and down key on your keyboard and left clicking in the middle there. It'll act like a paint bucket tool and just fill everything up inside there, so it saves you some time. Next thing we want to do is we want to copy that 8x8 tile. So we are going to middle click on one of the corners, drag it to the other side, and then press C. Now that we've got our 8x8 tile copied, you should see the little shadow there. Once we've done that, we can press D a few times to zoom back out. We still want to have the 8x8 tiles. Just have it as close as you can zoomed out that you'll still see the 8x8 tiles. So now what we want to do is we want to focus on the most important part of designing a racing game. Corners. If the corners suck, then a lot of things don't fall together very well. We're going to start by designing a really easy 90-degree turn. So, in order to make a perfect 90-degree turn, we're going to follow a simple rule. Everything is in 4s, 2s, and 1s. Now, I'll show you why that is in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to make, like I said, a 90-degree turn that goes from this block to this block. Now, how we're going to use the rule I just mentioned, the 4-2-1 rule, is we're going to move 1 over, 4 up. 1 over, 4 up. Same with this here. 1 down, 4 left. 1 down, 4 left. Now we're going to start using 2s. 1 down, 2 left. 1, 2. Now that we're pretty much at the end of our 90-degree turn, we're just going to use the 1 rule. 1, 1. Now we've got our turn. So what we can do here, I'm just going to show you very quickly as why this is useful. Later on, you can use the automated tool, as I was mentioning before. Now, the automated tool is important because it allows you to skip doing a lot of the hard work that you had to do in track des. So what you're going to be doing once you've actually finished designing this, once you finish designing your entire track, is you're going to go to the automated tile placement. Again, we're going to be going more in depth on this later. And all we have to do is just do a simple click. That entire turn has just been designed for us. Perfect 90-degree turn there. There's no effort in that whatsoever. It's been done for you. This is why designing corners with the 4-2-1 rule is so important. If you do not design them with the 4-2-1 rule, they will come out with jagged ends or glitch graphics. They are also important because there is some stuff you have to do manually in the automated tile placement which requires you have done that correctly in order for it to work. Here's an example. I want to put the borders on the corners here. If I hadn't done this right, these would not fall in place properly at all. They would be glitched and they would have spaces between them and they would not actually go together at all. Now, I'm just showing you really quickly how it works just so you can get an example. Now as you can see, you've got a perfectly designed 90-degree turn with the corner barriers now. If you tried to do that with anything other than the 4-2-1 rule, you would end up with tiles being out of place and things being where they generally shouldn't be. This is why it's always important to follow that rule. Now, as I was going back to the manual tile placement, as I was saying, the 8x8 tile is easily the most important thing we're going to be using while designing tracks, because it's literally the simplest way to design them. Your road should never be bigger than 10 by 10. You can use 10 by 10 if you'd like, but honestly, anything bigger than that, you're making the road too wide. The smallest I'd recommend you make it is 2 by 2. You can do 1 by 1 in very odd situations. That's up for you to decide on where you want to use that, but honestly, that's just being a bit tedious to the actual player, and you're creating false difficulty by doing that. So I'd avoid getting anything smaller than 2 by 2. Basically, the only thing you're really going to be using in your manual tile placement is the pavement, the blocks, which are at the bottom. You can use any one you want because that's all going to be done automatically later. Your finish line, which you should be doing after you finish designing your track. And that's pretty much it. You won't be doing anything else. Actually, there is one more thing. You'll be putting in the starting player positions as well, but that's not until you've actually finished designing the entire track. Okay. Actually, sorry, there is one more thing. I apologize. There is the grass tool, which you will use to set further out of bound areas other than the white areas here, which are actually all grass. Now then. Just as a quick example, I'm going to finish designing this track very, very quickly, just to show you what the actual uses for what I've done are so far. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm copying the entire track I've currently designed, and I'm going to rotate it by pressing R. I can use this to quickly finish the rest of the track. As you can see, the track I've designed is a little bit too big, so I'm going to have to design it so that I'm going to have to make it so that it doesn't take up as much space. So the easiest way to do that is just delete all of this, recopy it, and move it back a little bit. Once I've done that, I can now finish putting the track together. It's going to look glitchy when I'm originally designing it because these tiles are actually like one for every direction. That will be fixed once I use the automatic tile tool again, but again, you don't have to worry about that for now. Now as you can see, we've got a square design track. Didn't take us a lot of effort to make, anything like that. So the next thing we want to do is we want to avoid having the player decide that they're going to, you know, just drive along the track following a path like, say, this. So we're going to put in our walls. General rule for walls is they should always be about 4 tiles away from the corner. So the easiest way to design walls is just make a line about, say, that big, copy it, and then just kind of, you know, make it from there. So now we've got our wall so that the player cannot drive around and basically figure out ways of avoiding actually driving the entire track. So once you've done that, you've pretty much finished everything that you can do when you are using the manual tile placement. Again, that's all that really is required for your manual tile placement, is just to make your turns in the beginning and design your track using the 8x8 tile. You can make turns in other ways than what I've showed you, but I always recommend you follow the 4-2-1 rule. You can skip out on the 4 and you can just use 2 and 1. That also works. You can use that for making sharper turns. This concludes the manual tile placement tutorial.